Cause and effect. It's just cause and
Right.
effect. Right.
It's all just a bunch of whirling what's it's. Welcome to the Church of Reason. We do a secular sermon every Sunday at 10 a.m. But a bunch of me and my Church of Reason fam were hanging out in the cave the other day. There you go. Anyone who's watching Letterkenny will understand that. And if you're not, just turn this off and go start watching Letterkenny. So, Chet, we were having an interesting conversation, before we got on air, and Chet, our resident super genius, was asking or suggesting that we were almost having a conversation around free will. So while we're in the cave, why don't we just have that conversation around free will now? Chet, what's your take? Is there free will, or is everything just a bunch of math?
So no, I don't think there's free will in the way most people understand it.
Go on.
But what I heard you saying is that narratives and motivation and things like that matter, and I would totally agree with that. So
I agree, but
maybe there isn't free will.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's still useful to talk that way.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob.
I was just, to your point, there's a difference between free choice and free will. And I am motivated to make certain choices. But as far as like being the author of my own thoughts, that's not happening.
At the same time, I love this distinction, because it can mean that in a deterministic system, whatever we are can have the experience of directing our own intention, right? So I mean, at any given point you can make a choice and of course, like the choice was made like 0.8 seconds ago or whatever, in your brain, and they can actually prove that. That's really unconvincing to me, because that just means that the output is slightly lagging. It doesn't actually change what's actually going on in your mind. You know what I mean? Like that, like suggesting that as like a total preamble to that. But I mean, we live in a deterministic universe, and we have yet to see a scrap of evidence that isn't the case. But being, little meat robot AIs within that construct, there is a scientifically deduced difference between the people that are actively engaging their intention and the people that aren't.
Right. Well, something that was really conclusive to me was when Mr. Harris had shared the experiment that one can do. And that is, he said, okay, think of a movie. What's the first movie that comes to your mind? And he goes, okay, now, even before you answer, whatever you thought of, you didn't choose that thought. It just came to you. And then he's like, why didn't you think about the Rocky Horror Show? Which, of course, that'd be my first question. And then, so that's the thing is, it's just like, okay, you don't choose your thoughts. They just come up. And so you were like, okay, I have these thoughts. Based upon these thoughts and all these other conditions, I will make a choice. But it's not like I'm really the total autonomous. I don't know what the right word is, but I don't have the total option to create my own thoughts, right? That kind of thing. It's all dominoes all the way down.
It very well could be. It is daytime. Go ahead,
Greg. Let me jump in and reset the conversation. We were not talking about free will. We were talking about willpower.
That's true.
This is true.
That's a different thing. And that conversation in my mind comes from, sobriety recovery, which is where, before there were other tools, people were told that they were not attaining sobriety because they lacked willpower. But the understanding of addiction as a disease means that trying willpower on a disease, good luck curing your diabetes that way. Good luck curing your severe chronic depression that way. That there are other tools besides willpower. Willpower makes it a weak versus strong person argument, and it isn't. Some of the strongest people I know have attained long-term sobriety because they kind of surrendered to accepting advice from others.
That's interesting. Because I wasn't even suggesting willpower as an end state, but as a muscle that if you let slide will atrophy. And that
I
working
totally agree. And like, you know, like when you reach milestones in sobriety, you know, generally the anniversary of your sobriety date.
right.
And I've had 32 of those so far. And you know, you go to a meeting to pick up a chip, and when you do, the room usually somebody yells, "How'd you do it?" And I tend to yell procrastination. I just put off, you know, getting high today.
That's pretty funny.
I'll do it tomorrow. And honestly, you know, no, that's not how I did it. How I did it was intense focus on and understanding that if I did not stop, if I relapsed, I probably wasn't coming back. And I don't mean just to the rooms. I mean, I was probably going to die. So, you know, immediate sense of impending doom consequences helps motivate. But what really worked was being around other people who are struggling with the same thing. And, you know, understanding you're not alone in the world. You're not the only person that feels like a failure when you don't make it. We don't ostracize people that relapse. We basically, you know, give them a hug and a white chip and say, you know, today's another day, right? We start over every day. And that, like a lot of what we talk about in this context, you know, on making changes in our lives resonates with me because of that.
Right.
Because we're getting positive support when we do it right. We're not getting shamed when we do it wrong. But the longer you are in the pattern of do whatever it is that allowed you to make the change, the more consistent and effective it's going to be. In other words, it's a lot less likely today that I'm going to get pissed off or mash my toe on a piece of furniture and run to the store and buy a bottle of booze, because I've been doing this for so long that this is now me. So it's a long ingrained habit, and
right.
There's a lot of steps between me and a bottle of booze now that didn't exist when I first got sober. So,
well, I think that's a good point. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I'm good.
All right. So there's a difference, as we all know, between willpower and habit. I mean, I know you know this stuff way better than I, Greg. But where, like, to Nir Eyal's credit, person who got me onto BJ Fogg, where it's like, you know, willpower is good for starting the fire, so to speak, but like the habit really, as you said, Greg, really ingrains it in you. So the fire that was started by willpower can burn with continuous passion within you with a habit.
So yeah, the core challenge is, just from my experience and why I want to always share this stuff with people, again, selfishly, because it helps me, and it definitely did this week, is that I've noticed in myself that if I'm in a super weak spot, and I use the term willpower, maybe we should use something else, just because if anyone's or you don't, I just flatly don't believe. If I say I'm going to do a thing health-wise, anything else, it just gets done. Like, there's so much sort of event potential there that I'm just on a roll, and that you know, that I feel like my willpower muscle is very, very strong, and that success around individual small goals or whatever is super easy. The last few weeks, it's been shitty, right? The reason why I wanted to start the 30-day challenge the way I'm doing it, and granted, it's because I did one myself for the sunrises, right? Like that, I set a goal for myself, and it was super easy, but it set this pattern up where I'm going to commit to a thing, and then that day, that thing is actually going to get accomplished. If it doesn't, for sure, the next day, and so on. And this week was huge for that, right? Like it started out really strong, and yada yada yada. Like the sugar crash is real. Freaking withdrawals were insane. By Thursday, Friday, I was a soppy mess and didn't swim, and was a total kind of just fell on my face, right? But it was seeing all of you guys posting your things that, you know, made me look back and go, okay, well, I missed a couple of swims, but my shakes were always on point. I still haven't had any sugar, you know, like it kind of allowed me to get out of the shame spiral of just missing my interim goals all the time. And then Saturday, you know, I didn't even mean to go swimming. I wasn't going to do it until today. But I actually hit my mile yesterday. So like, it just
nice,
like huge success for me. Like that's like 4 weeks ahead of schedule.
Well, you had a sick day, as you put it online. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Like because you're dealing with chemistry, mega, like with this whole sugar thing too. So it's like you literally had a sick day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and like the getting rid of sugar is actually what kicked off my my first ever official depression event as well. So that's fun.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it yesterday was great. Like I feel like I'm definitely in a position to keep moving forward on it. Pun intended. So Greg, is there a better way to frame that where just language wise, because it feels, you know, like I always kind of have Melanie Curtis in the back of my head.
Mhm.
Anytime we say something that is very disempowering or reducing of one's own personal agency, it sort of tweaks out at me, right? So what's the better way to frame it in your experience?
I don't have a good analog for willpower, except that, you know, what we know works in sobriety recovery and in drug recovery is community, is, you know, supportive community, other people who are willing to you know, hug you tight and tell you it's okay, right? We're not perfect. We can take a sick day. We can have a fail day where we relapse. We can come back. We just, you know, what we know though is that um some of the best examples for us are people that went out and had a relapse and never came back because they died, you know, and that's not a positive reinforcement, but that's a thing that we think about, you know, that I really miss that Cliff is here. You know, Cliff should be here. Yeah, Cliff had a bad weekend and he went out and he scored some dope and he died. And I don't want anybody else to have that experience. So we talk about, you know, what are the downside consequences of living in self-will, right? Self-will is me not listening to what others tell me I need to be doing when they're right. And that's a tough nugget, you know, and I understand I'm totally failing on the smoking cessation thing because other people care about me. It appears more than I care about me. I get that. I get why people are concerned for me. So I don't know. I've changed some things that were really, really important for me to change. I've repaired a lot of things that were really important for me to repair. And it's hard for me to see those things sometimes, right? So you just talked about you had a bad day the other day, but you had an inventory of things that you got right on the day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I live. Like, you know, I may not be working on the smoking cessation thing like I should, but I'm 32 years without a drink or any, you know, dangerous narcotic drugs. I've repaired my ability to be healthy in relationships. I've helped other people repair their relationships and their ability to have healthy relationships. So there's a lot that I'm doing that's positive. It's just there's a couple of things I haven't gotten to yet. And I know that other people feel like I'm running out of time. I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like I remember when my dad died, everybody said, "Oh, if only, you know, Wayne could have quit smoking. If only he could have done that." Well, you know what? People liked my dad because of the amazing things he did, not because of what he had failed to do. And, you know, I got mad about that with other folks. It was like, well, you know, you didn't like my dad because he did followed other people's advice. You liked my dad because he did really awesome, cool shit that other people warned him. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, that might be bad for your job. That might be bad for your, you know, he lived a pretty individual, an amazing, interesting life. And I honor that in other people. You know, there's people I know that I think there are things they should change. It'd probably be better for them. I try to keep my mouth shut until they ask me, just because I don't know what else they might be fighting.
Fair enough.
That I really didn't answer your question there. I just sort of
I think you needed to say that, and it's like, this is church. This is where we do it.
Yeah. No, wow, you said a lot of powerful things. Just the last part you said where it's like, yeah, I don't offer to teach anyone meditation unless they ask me. You know, they're not ready.
Even then, it may be a surface question, you know.
Yeah. But like, and then also in regards to like, if a friend falls, you know, they plan to do a thing and they fall on their face at that moment, I can relate to that and I feel close to them. And then when they bounce back, that inspires me. And so hearing other people bouncing back on whatever they bounce back on, that's awesome. And then like when you mentioned your dad about, so basically he was not just a gear, he was just, I don't, what's the phrase? He was just not a cog in the machinery, right? Like he was his own individual, is what you had said.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Like
I have a sneaking suspicion that the beer people patterned the most interesting man in the world after my dad. I literally have a picture on my desktop of him flying an autogyro. That's the weird looking little contraption that has a big rotor like blade on the top that he and a friend built, you know.
Just yeah, anyone who builds their own helicopter and flies it around, it's fucking crazy.
You know, hot rods, big game hunting, you know, he was a pretty amazing dude. And,
yeah. So someday, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just people liked him because he didn't necessarily listen to what other people told him he should be doing. And that made him really, I think people envied him in some ways that you can just fly off and go big game hunting somewhere. Well, you know, that's because he chose that and he worked for that. And he, you know,
Anyway, awesome. Is anyone tracking the comments? I can't really see them and run the thing at the same time.
Ginny says she is weirdly craving gumbo now. Thanks to you guys. That's our gumbo. Jareen said good morning, and I said good morning, Gin and Jareen. It sounds like a drink when you say it out loud. I guess I'd like a Gin and Jareen, please. Ash says, got to be merciful with the self when shifting health and food and exercise. Always good to think of it. Rather think of what you're eliminating instead of what more you're adding to your life, space, etc. That's a good idea. What am I eliminating? A set of toxins and unhealthy things, right? Keeping those outside my door. That's a good way to look at it.
I'm so glad you mentioned the gumbo comment. I missed it. Like you had not shared that just now. But yeah, someday we should talk about the autolysis model because we were talking about motivation and it was like what adds urgency and then so on and so forth. I'm like, oh yeah, urgency. Yeah, core drive 8, loss and avoidance. Oh, community, core drive 5, social influence and relatedness. But I mean, I think that's probably for another day.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah, we use a handout when we're talking to clients about stages of change.
Yeah.
And that's super effective. It helps people gauge where they actually are. And what's funny is when I do it with a group, they often think they're somewhere different than I see them. Like, you know, like, I'm in the action stage. No, you really haven't changed it yet. You relapsed twice in the last 30 days. So, you know, that's contemplation and the beginning of action. But, you know, action indicates that you're doing the thing on an ongoing basis and you kind of are doing the work that's going to keep you on that path. But the last step is actually a split step, and it's relapse and repetition. In other words, it's going back through the whole process again. You know, doing like relapse is I quit doing something that's been working for me, and eventually I slide back into that place that I don't want to be, which is 100 pounds overweight. You know, for me, it was like compromising on carbs. When I was losing all the weight, I was not eating any carbs. I mean, almost zero. And then once in a while, I would sneak and order a French fries in there, and then the next thing you know, we're right back on the carb wagon again, right? So and understanding you need some healthy carbohydrates, I get that, but that's not what I was doing at all. I was ordering a giant order of French fries at Skinny's.
Right. It's not like you're having rice and beans.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of where we had some carbs this week, and like they were just perfectly healthy carbs. But we had a cheat day this week, or cheat meal, and I came away from that feeling super ill, which I am really grateful for. Actually, speaking of which, if you're in the comments, please write down anything you're grateful for. And sorry, I just saw a comment from Bob on the in game. Write down anything you're grateful for in the comments, and we will make sure that it gets up on the shrines.
That sounded like
about that sunset.
I think I just heard a prayer request.
Yeah, Greg, can you make it sunset?
I cannot.
All right, I guess you're only demigod then.
I can make it so that I can pick a time, but I can't remember how the clock works. Like what time is sunrise? I can, you know, it's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and I can't remember what equates early morning. So there you go. The weather's clear now.
That's good. Yeah, because that's definitely worked out. Because we sort of missed the sunrise.
When it's raining in Minecraft.
No, I know, but we missed the sunrise that morning.
What would your ideal time be? Sunset right now, Corey, or like midnight?
I would say probably like the second the sun goes down, I want to head out into the church and we can start doing the gratitude thing, that kind of thing.
As soon as the sun goes down, it's like sunset.
Yeah. Even sunset might I don't know.
All
No,
right,
nighttime.
the command is /time.
Okay.
Space, set space
Yep.
12,000, no commas. So 1,
Oh,
2,
wait, on
0,
here
0,
I have
0.
day, midnight, night, and noon. So if we set it for midnight, that gives us a few minutes till sunrise, right?
Perfect. Just yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Time is set to midnight.
Oh, fucking A.
Oh, it's so cool.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that.
So
My pleasure.
you are God.
Even the gods need help. So you
Amen.
guys are all going to go sacrifice.
All right. So, welcome to the cathedral. If you haven't seen it yet, this is it. It's funny. It's been amazing to me since we built it as sort of a collaborative effort, but it's actually growing on me, which is weird. I didn't expect to like it more. Anyway, if you're in the comments, feel free to write some stuff down. And yeah, there's some lag, huh? Luckily, and we need some signs. Anyone have any signs?
I think I have a few on me. I have 4.
I
can
don't
go
have
make a
any.
few. I have some sticks and some. I don't have that much wood. Oh yeah, I do. I can go make some, but they're going to be dark as signs. If that's.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have birchwood.
Oh, Donna's got some birchwood signs.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally have some birch.
Oh, it's outside.
There's some birch.
I have some. I don't know how to throw them down.
You drag them out of your inventory using your mouse.
Yeah.
And you just
You just sort of throw them.
Yeah. On that note, I may need a sign.
Okay, here we go. Coming back in. All right.
Oh
let's
wow!
see.
Apparently I have a little
There's a
log.
dozen.
Oh, that's a dozen? Oh, game on.
Oops, sorry, dude. Here.
All right, Jareen had one. I'm going to put up over here on.
I just put 3 in the box if anyone wants to get those.
I left more signs
Okay.
out on the floor. Corey.
Okay.
Let me check what Jareen had. Grateful for yard space to garden. So I'm going to put that one on here.
So I kind of wanted to mention something. Greg mentioned like the role of community and in people changing their behavior, and that's just really important. Like the way I think of it is you have the concept of phenotype in biology, and that's your appearance, your behavior, kind of even the products of your behavior. So it's just kind of everything you do and create. And phenotype results from an interaction between genes and the environment. And so if you want to change your phenotype, you're probably not going to be manipulating your genetics anytime soon. So environment is the tool you have to work with. And community is just such a big part of that process. And so it's, in recovery, they'll tell you if you go back to, the same neighborhood and the same old friends, and you don't break your behavioral patterns, then you'll end up in the same patterns. And it's finding a new community and being surrounded by people that will reinforce the positive aspects of yourself is just, to me, that's a big part of behavioral change.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point.
So Ash Gallagher put up on the comments, says she is grateful for Florida supporters. So I've got that one hung up here too. Thank you,
All
Ash.
right.
We appreciate it, and we are so grateful that you join us and enlighten us about life and reality in the part of the world that you worked in. We're humbled by that. You are an amazing resource, and we really value that.
Hell yeah. Oh, crap. Sunrise.
Hey.
Upstairs.
Okay, up we go to the balcony.
Wasn't paying attention.
Wait, is it raining again?
It is not. All right. So during the sunrise, we like to. It is raining. Look at that. Yeah, it might be worth setting the weather clear again there.
Yep.
So yeah, during the sunrise, we have a bit of a moment of silence, but the sun's already coming up. So there you go. right. So I only have a few things to share with you guys today. Some quotes. One by Buckminster Fuller. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. My favorite sort of recent examples of that would be, Elon Musk. He's not going to the car companies telling them to make electric cars. He just made a really, really good one, and now they're all having to scurry to catch up. And giant rockets that land on their butts. Very few people, I should say, were considering that even possible, and now it's just what rockets do, which is crazy. I personally believe around social media and the way that we interact online, the organizations and groups that are building things like LBRY and Chirp are on the cutting edge of what that stuff will become, which is why I'm so endlessly fascinated with it. And that's the kind of thing that can just circumvent the current order and make something much better. I'm still waiting for what that's going to look like with politics. But I think Andrew Yang started it. Got a sneaky suspicion that is the case, but we'll have to see how that goes. Science contributes to our culture in many ways as a creative intellectual activity in the universe and as the source of understanding of man's own nature. And that would be John F. Kennedy. The reason that one stuck out to me today is that our current president is a science-denying lunatic that put a religious zealot in charge of a pandemic. So that's fun.
Welcome to the 14th century.
You're right.
And he's in charge of the nukes.
So, yeah, I was amazed. So Bob started tweeting out links to what's the title of that one? The Hardcore History episode about nukes. Between that and the Radiolab episode, like if you want to be like just genuinely concerned for the survival of civilization, because
if you're getting too much sleep,
right? Just because worrying about a pandemic that could kill more people than the Holocaust by an order of magnitude, if that's not worrying you enough, you could go listen to these episodes about nukes and just be like, okay, I need a bunker right now.
Yeah,
fucked up. Yeah, Bob just said in game, be sure to watch kitten videos too. Good medicine. You gotta get balance, right?
True story.
A healthy dose of kitten videos for every civilization ending situation that you have to learn about.
Shout out to
in daily practice. What are you doing to, like, the thing that Buckminster Fuller said? What does anybody have an example of something they're doing to change the model, change the paradigm?
I mean, you're sitting in it.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Right.
I'm not posting anything negative about any of the Democratic candidates anymore. I'm not sharing posts that are negative about Bloomberg or Bernie. I'm just not doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I'm not advancing those ideas because there's going to come a moment where we're going to have to coalesce. And the more crappy things we've said and thought about a candidate, the less likely we are to do the work of making sure that the actual enemy of the people is not in office come January.
Yep.
It's a little thing.
So in a meta level, I do what I can to empower certain models that look promising, such as Our World Here, Copy Live, which is way more than promising. It's kicking butt.
And thank you.
The Moving Forward pod, it's like, okay, I see this. I see how it will serve others. And no matter what, no matter how much this grows or doesn't, I will feel better about myself as a result of doing it. Like, this is my calling.
Awesome.
I like it.
Jareen, I just got your gratitude up on the wall here.
Yeah, I already put it up, but that's okay.
Oh, well, for a frick on the frick's sake. All right. Well, yeah, no, I can just do another one now.
I'm concerned. People are going to think that I'm always serious because they don't hear me before we go live.
Yeah, I was gonna say I mean, statistically speaking, you're the one who's gonna make the sex joke that would be inappropriate in any other church, but is par year. So
Yes.
Get after it.
Yes, I totally reject the Victorian attitude that we've had about sex. Because come on, right?
Yep. That's what Dracula is actually all about, Forbidden.
Forbidden. Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that.
Listen, all of the moral dilemmas in Dracula are about sexual mores and practices.
No wonder that excites me.
In a long time, but not long ago, and it's really that's really what it's about. Most of those stories are about our morality plays, about things that we are doing wrong, or at the time were viewed as things we were doing wrong. So
all right, I'm grateful for Bob's in-church sex jokes.
I'm absolutely loving how many gratitude signs there are on these.
Right.
This is amazing.
It's pretty good. Yeah. So I do think we should use the backs of them.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Like filling them completely up? Because I think we could even put them on the sides, can't we?
Yeah, you can stick a sign to any flat surface. So
that reminds me. Epic Wolf. Well, I'm putting up a gratitude right now. Epic Wolf Run this morning was showing the gratitude shrine in some of the signs this morning.
Nice.
So, thank you, Epic Wolf Run.
We had so many new request whitelist access, and it's Corey Elko who was on our
awesome.
comments quite often. He's Corey with a K. Corey is his name, so not to be confused with Corey Cottrell when you see him in game.
Cool.
Yep.
And again, get a hold of us if you're watching this on YouTube or on Library, where the replay for this is going to live. Then by all means, get in touch with us, and we can whitelist you for our server and kind of fill you in on how we do things.
Yep.
And one of these days, I'm going to get that errant tiny piece of glass that is still sitting in the middle of nowhere.
We had a new commenter named Riddles. I don't know if Riddles is somebody we know in real life, but Riddles asked, "Can Xbox One join you?" Unfortunately, Riddles,
sadly, no.
Minecraft Java Edition, which works on either PC or Mac, is the only way to get into our server. I think it's possible we could at some point start a game platform server, but we're having so much fun in this one so far that hasn't quite. Oh, there's a trader. Hello, trader. Huh?
Did you just try and kill him?
No, I'm trying to trade with him. He's got Nautilus shells, and I don't have enough emeralds for that.
If you have questions, tweet to Corey what to do. I mean, yeah. So I'm at Corey Cottrell on. You can also just comment or send us stuff on YouTube. We can get there. Yeah, I'll. You know what we should do? I'll put some links in the show notes as well. Hey, llamas. I still
clearly they haven't learned their lesson.
Yeah, right.
Llamas have been active today.
Man, I still feel some guilt. So you guys want to we're hitting about a half hour here. Do you guys want to do the walk and continue our free will discussion, or how what do you guys want to do? Anyone else have any gratitudes they want to throw up before we go?
I have a quick side comment I have a big side comment. I have a side comment about the free will thing that
go ahead
will help people. You lose guilt if you do the mental shift, and people choose what you want to choose. But if you do the mental shift from saying, "Okay, I have total free will," to "Okay, I have free choice," there's a series of dominoes. Then you realize all this guilt that you might have associated with your choices. You can let go, and you just say, "Okay, I'm going to make the best choice I can." And yes, it's still important to make good choices. But when I don't, I am only human. And that also keeps me in check when I'm thinking about people in prison, because it's like, okay, they made choices based upon what was in their lives. It's not like, oh, they could totally avoid, no, they're in prison. Choices that they made in their lives, and of course, a system that needs a major overhaul, but I don't think we want to go there right now, right?
As it is. So I'm trying to be the
I'm
cameraman following you
game.
around while you talk. So yeah, you guys want to go? Hey, look, it's moonrise. You guys want to go do the walk?
Yeah, I'm already outside. Me and Chad are
well,
out.
shit,
We're waiting for you guys.
I was just chasing Bob around the cathedral while he was having his little diatribe there.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know. It was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would have called that a diatribe, but whatever.
A diatribe isn't negative.
No, I kind of thought.
I don't think so. Diatribe just means talking for a bit.
I am deeply offended, Corey.
But yeah, if there's no free will, there's no grounds for blaming people for things you don't like. All you can do is be proactive about changing it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I land on the whole, punitive kind of jailing system that we have. I think if you applied science directly to it, it would all be about education and rehabilitation and obviously protecting society, right? I mean, that it's not like that isn't a thing. If there's murders around, well, they can't roam around free. That's not a thing they can do. But kind of making the suggestion that punishing them, I mean, that just seems like a holdover from the Bronze Age Sky Daddy bullshit.
It definitely is.
If you haven't seen this before, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's in a sick way. It's reinforcing to a person to punish another. Like it's like, oh, revenge, and it's like, okay, our system is reflecting that still.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a common thing in the kind of counseling that I do. That just because I'm hurt doesn't mean I have the right to hurt someone else. And that people get squeamish about that. They really don't like that. Well, what if somebody hits you? I don't have to hit them back. I don't have to. It's not a requirement, but sometimes it's almost like a cultural training requirement, especially for men. That am I defending myself from further harm? Okay, that's one aspect of hitting someone back. Am I discouraging them from further acts of aggression? Perhaps, but it's not the only way to discourage further acts of aggression. It's not the only way to handle a situation where you might be in danger. First of all, is maybe not exposing yourself so often to situations where you're likely to get hit. Right? There's a lot you can do on the road to that moment to make a different path. So that's uncomfortable, and I think that does bleed into our criminal justice system. Like one of the ones that really makes me uncomfortable is and I've seen this happen. A sexual predator, a child molester is sentenced to prison, and somebody will say, I hope he goes to prison, and what happened to, what he did to those kids happens to him every day. I don't want that. I don't think anybody should be raped. I don't care what they did. I don't think rape is an appropriate response for anything. So, finding my way to that was it's been a long trip for me, a long journey, and it hasn't been easy. But I understand the impulse to, the rage that induces in people, that particular crime. But at the same time, my rape line may be very different from somebody else's. And millions of Russian and German women and girls, were raped during the war, but for revenge, for no other purpose than political revenge. And I think that that's horrendous. And I think that where that starts isn't saying, well, they raped our women, so therefore, right? So that kind of thing. I know that's a rather extreme example of what we're talking about, but I have the choice whether or not to engage in acts of violence, no matter what someone else does to me. I have that choice. I will always have that choice. In the worst of circumstances, that will still be what I hope I can live up to.
Greg, when you were given the example, so great examples. When you gave the example about, and the words fail me because for whatever reason, basically child molestation. So I applied my mindfulness. I'm like, oh, my heart's beating faster. I recognize the desire to fuck them up and destroy them. Like the person who was violating children that way. And it's like, oh, okay, I have a choice. I will choose my next words carefully on this YouTube video. And if I ever meet the person, I will not destroy them. I will do what I can to give them to the proper authorities.
Right. And I understand how fraught that concept in that context is. I really do. I've worked with hundreds of child assault survivors, and I've worked with a few dozen perpetrators. And the thing that was most discomforting to me to learn was how many of the perpetrators come from home systems where that was what was done to them. So they didn't see that in the same way that you or I might see it. That perpetrators are often victims first, whether we're talking about child sexual abuse or domestic violence. You know, you ask a room full of guys in my battery intervention class, how many of you grew up in a home where your parents hit each other? And it's 80 to 90% of them. You know, that's now the good news about that behavior is that I can break that cycle in my life. I can stop doing that. I can make sure that my kids aren't getting that messaging from watching what happens and how I interact with my partner. So that's a place we can have an impact. You know, my dad was a pattern breaker. My dad grew up in a neglectful, alcoholic, verbally and emotionally abusive household. And my brother and I were not treated that way. And because my dad managed to break that pattern, he had help and he had a really great co-parent to help him on that road. But I'm grateful every day that my dad broke that pattern, but he didn't do it alone. And he didn't do it because he just one day woke up and decided it was a good idea. Lots of kids who grew up in those kind of houses will say, I'm never going to turn out like my dad. And then they turn out exactly like their dad, right? Because they don't have any sort of tools or support to change the way that they interact with their kids. So, yeah, I know I went to the most extreme example I could think of, and that's not always comfortable, but there it is. Sorry if I triggered anybody's traumatic response.
So this is our hydrogen atom.
Yes, you guys are getting lectured by a Sasquatch. What can I tell you?
Yeah, hey, you know, if you're gonna get lectured, get lectured by a Sasquatch who is very, very powerful in very positive masculinity. Yeah, amen. So just to read these signs, because I want to do this every time. And again, if this is the first one you're seeing, we created this path to reason. There's a secret embedded in the stones of this pathway that is pretty easy to deduce if you like that sort of thing. Yeah, Bob just said thank you for the growth, Greg. Felt good in the comments here. You might be able to see it. I wanted to say it out loud because that's a good point. All of us are what happens when a primordial mix of hydrogen and helium evolved for so long that it begins to ask where it came from. I mean, that's just good shit right there. I don't care who you are. Mm-hmm. So there's a hydrogen atom. So the thing that is, we're sort of increasing in complexity the farther down this path we go. So of course you'll notice our giant skyscraper size, fully accurate DNA molecule. It's not fully accurate, but it is fancy.
Thank you, Bub Elvis. Bub Elvis. Hi to all reasonable people in the comments.
Sometimes I feel like I'm unreasonable in my belief in how much good we can do in the world.
Yeah, but if you're going to be unreasonable in any belief, that should be it. The nitrogen in our DNA, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. That's good shit right there.
Boom. Mic drop.
DNA molecule by Corey and Greg. Rest in peace, Llama. You'll have to go and listen to one of our other episodes of the Church of Reason to find out what happened to the llama.
The llama deserved it.
The llama had it coming.
See, just because the llama inflicted violence on me doesn't mean I have the right to inflict.
No, it was
punishment.
Yeah, that's shit.
It was going to push Corey.
That's
off.
the thing.
It was an ideal.
It was self-preservation.
It's an ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. The Amoeba had the architectural ideas of Buckminster Fuller before there was anyone around capable of having an idea. Laris and Cudmore.
Yeah, I would totally take the sword and protect you, Corey.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. So this is our Amoeba. Greg basically built this entire thing. All I did was make this giant platform up here. And again, the coolest part about it, as far as I'm concerned, is the giant lava pit that is like the seething heart, the nucleus of the maybe I think that's just freaking rad. So yeah, so I have this thing, the pathway continues down over here. We've been thinking about, maybe making a giant dinosaur. I'll Google it to see if I could come up with a way to sort of contemplate it. That said, I am going to make a giant DMT molecule.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We should somewhere make a giant turtle then. If we're gonna go down that.
Okay, Greg.
Because it is turtles all the way down.
What if we made a giant turtle and then put a DMT molecule on its back?
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a really good plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that is our friend Laugh Track's house over there. In case anyone's wondering about that. And lightning.
I'm gonna let it rain. I like the rain. I like Minecraft rain.
It's not hurting my feelings. Yeah. All right, guys. Anyone else have anything they want to add or go take a look at or what?
I keep forgetting our sign off. I want to have it in mind when we do it.
What was it again? I can't remember. Which is
it was related to she blinded me with science.
I don't remember. I just remember it was awesome.
Thank you for blinding me with church science, right?
Okay. That sounds weirdly like Scientology to me, but whatever.
Right?
Okay. She blinded me with the whatever. Oh, Sasquatch has fallen.
I jumped. Nice. I really love our little Minecraft world.
Yeah, it's good.
It wasn't
stuff.
a pick. It was a scratch.
All right, Jerry. Around the rim. What are you? These are Seinfeld jokes. Corey.
Yeah. No, you're on your own. Well, clearly, I'm on my own.
Has Bob heard that story? It's my favorite Corey story. When Corey and I were first working together, we were talking about gay marriage because that was a thing that was happening. You know, the argument over gay marriage, and every time it came up, I would say, "Not that there's anything wrong with that." And Corey thought that I was really some sort of an anti-gay marriage sexist that he didn't understand,
or just on this side of it. But still, I was like,
I was quoting George Costanza from Seinfeld, and he didn't get the reference, so he thought I was like, "Oh, that's weird." He's mostly for equal rights in every other circumstance.
I know, it was very strange, and I was out on my own on that one.
Oh man, that would have been unprepared. Have an apple.
Thanks, buddy.
Nice.
Already.
Yeah, so if anybody has any item needs that you can't get because we don't have mob drops enabled, you just have to message me and I'll cross your palm with whatever it is you're looking for, gunpowder or slime balls or anything you can't get through mob drops. Just let me know.
Yep. I have an idea. Peaceful world.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. Talk about peace. Get your peace out of the way.
No, we did. That's it. It's done.
I like peace. I was kidding. Here's an idea. How about everyone who is listening now or listening later in the YouTube, come back next week in the YouTube comments, make suggestions as to what our sign off should be.
Nice.
Might want to have it something to do with science, reason, or humanity, but might not have to.
I like it.
All right.
Homework is good. Core challenge. I highly recommend listening to last week's episode. I think what do you guys think of? Because I've been uploading the higher def versions. Like there's kind of lag on the live video, which is up there, and that's fine. It works. But I started recording the Zoom calls so we can actually have just a smoother version of the video.
Nice.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe we shouldn't only put it up on library. Because
put up on library.
If we get lots of follows and likes on library, that actually creates a tiny little income stream for us. And would allow us, if that it's almost like a little micro Patreon kind of situation, right? What do you guys think? Is that crazy?
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Yeah.
Game on.
It
Yeah.
might want to do some samples then on YouTube or whatever, just to tease.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And sort of like do like a little kind of 2 or 3 minute block and say to see the whole thing, head over to the library. I like that.
Yeah, how are people going to comment?
You can comment on library.
Okay.
I haven't even used it yet, so I don't have a dog in this fight. So
Okay, so how about this? I'll do that this week, and we'll sort of game it out. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then we'll just go back to my original plan.
Yep. Hey, that's a good point from Donna. This is in-game stuff. If anybody finds a jungle environment, please get the coordinates so she can find it. I think she's looking to tame an ocelot or something like that.
I think I actually went through some jungle on my way to where I ultimately built my house.
Nice. Yeah, Bubble Viz in the comments says I'm against gay marriage. Well, then don't get gay married. Problem solved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for you have your own free will, and that's all you're gonna get. So enjoy that.
But yeah, to see the Fortress of Solitude, the ice place that Corey made. It's in the prior YouTube videos, right?
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Actually looks way cooler now that I finally created a pathway from the octahedron up to the
Finally.
house. Yeah.
See, we need more ice because I like sliding in his house.
After
I can help you with that.
what's up?
All right, guys. We ready to wrap this up?
I believe it's time.
Yeah. I got a lunch date a little later on. So that's
Yeah, it's definitely, it's all about the slippery slope.
I see what you did there.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
Time for the sign
Thanks
off. Insert here.
All right. We're out.
Are we out? Corey? Oh, Corey's frozen up. There he goes.
Oh, weird. What just happened?
I don't know. That was really strange.